hello and welcome to the Utah Hockey Podcast. My name is Kelly Queel. Michael and I are out of town, so we're all zooming in. We're also joined by Cole Bagley, and we are all thrilled today because today we get to talk to the 46th pick in the 2025 NHL Draft, Max Pisnishka. How are you doing, Max?
Hey, thank you very much for having me. I'm doing really good. Yeah, a lot of exciting moments these days, and I'm really happy to be here.
So we were just discussing with Max. They are in Park City for development camp for the first couple of days. He was drafted on Saturday, so everything has gone really, really fast. Then came out to Utah. Now out here in Utah, really suddenly. Take us back to kind of those moments of draft day and being at the draft.
Oh yeah. Well, for me it was just dream come true, getting drafted by Utah. I just the full year I wanted to get drafted by Utah because we had a really good connection throughout the year with
Wow.
those guys. So yeah, when I heard my name going up with Utah, I was so excited and really happy with that. So yeah, just pure happiness, with my parents there. They were also very happy. So yeah, it was amazing and I'm so excited for the future.
That's so
Max,
exciting to hear.
Max, I know Utah scouts were pretty high on you. What is it about your game that they see as potential, and a potentially a future defenseman for them in the NHL?
Yeah, well, I think it's the size is probably one of the things. I'm 6'5", so that's probably one of the things. My play style is kind of being a two-way D, help on both sides of the ice and do whatever I can to help the team win. So, being really strong in the battles and win as much as I can. So, yeah, being really clever, really shifty, good skater, I think. So, yeah, these things probably.
We've been saying that for a couple of weeks because we keep picking up these taller and taller guys. We're excited to have some size on our team. You're adding a lot of that.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
What
So
about
Max, Max, I know that you're saying it's your first time in Utah. What has your experience been so far with the state? And I know
Mhm.
that there's a couple of fans there watching development camp. I guess what are your first impressions of the fans and of the state in the area?
Yeah, well, since I came into city to the airport, the drive to the city, wow, it's been amazing. The mountains, like that's unbelievable, the nature around here. So, yeah, that's been really good, and the fans, that's just so good that they are in our practices. I had the chance to give a stick today, so that's really good too. So yeah, it's amazing to be here and see everybody that loves hockey too.
that's so cool. Well, we have another person from your home country, our Karel Vejmelka as our goalie, and he has been around Utah. We keep calling him like a travel, I don't know, a tour guide. He's been traveling all around Utah, and he says really similar things. Just loves looking at the
Oh
nature.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's kind
It's
of
really
fun.
beautiful here, yeah.
Does Utah remind you at all of home?
Yeah, when you're going to the mountains, it's pretty similar, but here it's like all bigger, and stuff. So yeah, it's pretty similar as in Czech sometimes, but yeah, it's for me like US and stuff like this, like whole nother world, like the culture and
Mhm.
stuff. So yeah, it's beautiful and I just love the nature around here. The mountains are just unbelievable.
Yeah.
You've had a couple days to interact with a bunch of the other prospects. Guys like Simashev and Bood and Denoier and Iginla and Baudouin. I'm just curious. What have those interactions been like? With the boys, whether on or off the ice.
Oh yeah, well, everybody here is a really good person, I think. I've met probably everybody now. So we had a really good talk with Simashev today, about some stuff. So for me, he's a really good guy and one of the best here who I can talk to. So and he's a really good player too. So I can like watch his game and take the details that he does from his side. So for me, he's a really good guy and yeah, as I said, yeah.
Was there any chirping going on during those drills?
Yeah, we're trying to go a little bit into each other, for the Thursday scrimmage, but just a little bit.
Um, Max, I'm curious too. I mean, we want to get to know you a little bit more off the ice. You know, what kinds of things do you like to do off the ice? What are some of your hobbies and interests?
Well, since I was a kid, my dad was a tennis player, so I kind of play that too. So,
Last Mike.
oh yeah, I played a lot of tennis when I was younger, but had to stop, obviously. And what else did I do? I did canoeing too for like 2 years back in Czech. And right now I'm trying to learn how to play golf. We were in Portland in playoffs in Spokane. We had like day off and we went to a course, and I was the worst one there. I was so horrible. I couldn't hit the ball, so I wanted to, show them for next season how good I am. So I'm trying to learn golf now.
So multi-sport athlete.
Yeah. Utah's a good place to learn golf. We got some good courses
Oh
here.
yeah, I saw some courses. Yeah, it looks really good.
Max, who's your favorite tennis player?
Has to be Djokovic for me. He's just a legend, one of the best. So it is him for sure.
That's awesome, man. I'm personally a huge fan of tennis, so I love that you said that. I feel like every hockey player, though, like you were saying, ends up just getting into golf. Why is that? Why does every hockey player like playing golf? Is it Happy Gilmore?
Yeah. I'm not really sure. For me, it's just like, being around people I love and play something that's fun and just relax a little bit from hockey, which is like highly paced and everything going on so fast and stuff. So you kind of want to have some time to relax and, be in the nature, like, and be with your friends first of all. So that's probably the reason.
Yeah, being outside is really pretty. We know Clayton Culler, your captain, has a lot of love for golf, so he'll go golf with you.
Oh yeah, nice. That sounds good.
What about your parents being able to come to Utah? Are they going to get to come to Utah?
Oh yeah, for sure. Probably not like this week, but for sure someday they'll come, and I'm really happy to meet them here. So yeah, they will come.
That'll be so awesome.
Has there been, now that you've been in Utah a couple of days, has there been anything that surprised you about it, or anything that has been interesting?
For me right now is the nature, the mountains and stuff. It's so beautiful to look at, and it's something like different where I come from, Prague. It's like really like hilly and straight, so a lot of like old town and old buildings and not too much of a nature. So it's something different for me. So I'm really happy to see all of that stuff.
Go ahead, Kelly.
No, I was gonna say what we do have, and I'm gonna say it wrong, but I've been to Prague and ate the most delicious dessert of my life, which is a trneldik. Does that sound right?
Oh yeah, trdelník. Yeah.
Trdelník. Thank you. And guess what?
He pronounced it better.
Yeah, he's not there. I have no hope. We have those in Utah, but they're called crispy cones. So
crispy
you gotta.
Cones. Okay,
you gotta go to crispy cones.
Yeah, I'll try one of those.
They went to your country and brought it back to Utah, so they have those here.
Yeah, I'll try one of those someday. Yeah,
it was pretty good.
I keep on my own eye on it.
Yes.
So Max, I wanted to just hear some opinions on the Utah hockey sweater. You were the second player to be drafted that got to put on the jersey with the new logo that's right behind you and on your shirt. How do you feel about the logo? How do you feel about the sweater?
Well, for me, when it came out, it was the best logo I've seen in a while. So it's so beautiful. Like,
are you just saying that?
Right? No, I mean
I'm kidding.
No, I mean it for real. Like, it's really beautiful. It's something else than everybody has, I think. And there's like a lot of meanings, like the tusks, and the mountains. It's really beautiful. And the colors are something different out of this world, I think so. Yeah, and we look good in it. So yeah.
Follow-up question: have you learned how to say? Do you know how to say mammoth in Czech? What's the word?
Mammoth.
Oh.
It's pretty similar. Yeah.
It's like the brand.
Oh yeah.
How do you say tusks up in your native language?
Oh my God. Glenahoru. Yeah.
You have a lot of people to speak to, that's for sure. We just signed another goalie from Czech, and Our own spicy tuna is teaching his daughter a bunch of Czech
nice.
words because his wife is from
Oh,
Czechia.
nice.
So you're in good company.
Oh yeah, I've
Ma-
noticed. There's a couple guys too here that's from Czech, so yeah, it's really nice
Yeah.
to have some people around that are from
Another
the same country now.
drafty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Max, did you get a chance to watch Utah much of this last season?
No, I didn't watch too much. I only like watched the highlights because of the season that's been for me really crazy going around from Czech to US. So I didn't have much time for that, but I watched a lot of highlights and saw some clips. So yeah, a little bit.
Amongst players of your age and kind of around the country and in those leagues, was there much talk of Utah or much buzz about Utah? What's going on here with the inaugural season and how hockey has found a new home in Salt Lake City?
Yeah, like for me, like as Utah being a new team in the NHL, it's always gonna be special. There's gonna be a lot of buzzing around for the team. So, I think it's a really good way to get people back to hockey and give it more fans and stuff. So I think it's a real good opportunity for young players as we are to get playing in these teams. So. Yeah, I think it's a really good thing for the state too.
That's awesome. Speaking of the fans, what do you want them to know about you? Whether that's the game that you bring, whether that's who you are as a person. I mean that's why we wanted to talk with you today, is to kind of give the fans more of an idea of
Oh yeah.
who is Max. What defines him on and off the ice.
Yeah. Well, probably I'm trying to be a really good guy to everybody outside of like the game. You gotta be a little bit of a rat sometimes in the game too. So, you can't be that in normal life. So yeah, I'm trying to be really kind to everybody. Just be normal. Don't do something like really crazy. Just live and enjoy life. Just be happy about everything, about small details, and yeah, just love what I do and stuff like this.
Yeah, you've been very outspoken. You've said it multiple times that you're just so happy to be in Utah. That's as someone who grew up here, and we
Me
we
too.
we we didn't have the NHL until obviously this last year. We had the NBA, and for there's always kind of been this stigma that NBA players are unhappy. Well, then here you come and Caleb come, and you get drafted, and you just talk about how excited. Why are you so excited to be in Utah?
Well, first of all, getting drafted to NHL, that's like one part of it. It's just something special for everybody. It's a dream come true. And it's, something really special it's just like a kind of, how would I say, it? Like, uh, I'm missing a word for that, but it doesn't matter. Like, it's, like, like a something like paycheck, just that you did something right, so you get like, oh, rewarded, yeah, rewarded for
Rewarded.
Yeah.
for your
Love it.
hard work. So so yeah, it's really amazing. And Utah as a new team, you're always excited to see what the people are inside of that organization and how everybody behaves here. And yeah, it's just the fans will be going crazy throughout the season because it's new team in the NHL. So yeah, it's just awesome to be here and with everybody else with such an experiences and the players here at the DAF camp too. So it's just amazing.
Would you
What
say?
was the
Go
Go
ahead,
ahead,
Kelly.
Cole.
No, you go ahead, Kelly.
What would you say is the biggest amount of fans that you've played in front of so far?
Oh, that's a hard question. Back in
You ready?
Pilsen, we had like average probably 8,000 people watching us. In Portland, it's probably gonna be something similar, maybe more. I'm not quite sure, but yeah, probably like 10,000 maybe.
Yeah. To have 16 in our arena hopefully makes you a
Oh
little
yeah.
more surprised.
Yeah.
We're proud of how loud we get in our arena.
Oh yeah.
Well,
Can't wait to play there someday.
Yeah.
Max, I don't want to keep you too much longer, but I'm just curious. What are your plans here? Throughout the rest of the summer, and what are you hoping to achieve, and then how do you kind of approach this next season now that you have been drafted, but returning to the league that you play in?
Well, for me, the past season was really like defensive, as I said many times. So I want to focus more on the offensive play style of the game. More two-way D being on the ice. So that's probably what I'm gonna focus on. Just bringing the hard work every time and just yeah, be real patient and happy what I do. So probably that.
Well, and last one for me. Are you at all a fighter? Do you like to drop the mitts and go toe to toe with somebody?
I didn't have a chance yet, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
That's
He
what I
said
like to hear.
he said he likes to be a rat. That's good enough for me.
Yeah.
On the ice.
Max, if I
I'm
could,
a little angel off the ice and
Oh
a
yeah,
rat
for
on the
sure.
ice.
Yeah. You have to like make a wall before between the lives, hockey life and normal
yeah.
person life.
Yeah.
Max, I know we're pretty much out of time here, but one last question, just from myself. I know that hockey fans really like to know this, and I think all of us here grew up as hockey fans and had favorite players that we watched.
hmm
And maybe if for those of us that played, maybe try to model our play style and how we carry ourselves. Um, like that player, who was that player in your life that you watched growing up that either was your favorite player or someone that you maybe model your game after a little bit, or both?
oh my God, that's really hard. Being being born in Czech, there's a lot of really good players playing in the
Yeah,
NHL and all over the world. So, probably the most recent, I really like Campney, Gudas, Hronek that were like in the NHL. So probably these guys from Czech, but like I don't have like a role model. I watch like a lot of, as I said, a lot of the NHL highlights, and I'm trying to pick up small details from like more players than one, to see what they do, like, and even how they behave off ice and like how they prepare and stuff. So I do
yeah,
that kind of stuff. But like, I don't have a like one role model, one guy who I like just do the stuff that he does.
love that.
That's
Is there a
cool.
player that you're looking forward most to playing against once you
Ooh.
get to the
Against,
NHL?
it has to be Sidney Crosby. I want to play against
Great
that
answer.
guy.
Great answer.
Yeah.
You don't,
Yeah.
Max, you don't know this, but my friend Cole Bagley over here is absolutely obsessed with
He's
Sidney
my favorite.
Crosby and has been for his whole life. So that was a good answer.
That's my favorite
Yeah.
player.
Oh yeah, he's a legend in the league and all over the world. So probably this guy.
All right. Well,
That's
Max, we
awesome.
appreciate you joining us. We'll let you get back to your development
Yeah.
camp festivities, but congrats on being drafted and good luck on Thursday.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. It was a fun time.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
so
you, Max.
much.
We'll
We're
do it
so happy
again.
to have you.
Thanks.
Okay, so we just got to talk to Max Pisnishka, maybe. I tried my best.
It
That
sounds
last
good.
name is
Sounds
okay.
right.
I practiced him saying his own name, and I watched that enough times to come up with Pšenička, and then he released another video of him saying his own name, and I think he said it differently. So maybe we're all pronouncing it different every moment, and that's just fine. What a sweetie. So exciting to have all of these prospects here in Utah at development camp. Our own Cole Bagley has been up there every day. So give us a little breakdown of what Max has looked like on the ice.
Yeah, I mean, I think you sit here and you watch development camp and you just get really excited about not only the immediate future of this team, but 3, 4, 5 years down the road when all these first and second round picks start to figure it out and develop their bodies a little bit more. Max has looked great. I know that according to a lot of analysts and whatnot, he probably went a little bit higher than a lot were expecting. But Utah scouts were really high on him, and I can see why. He's a big body. He's a pretty strong skater. He's been really good on the puck, both in receiving and then carrying the puck. I've been impressed with him. I think he's one of those players that you look at and you go, there's a lot of raw talent here, but there's a lot of upside and potential to be developed.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I think with him is, he's got the body, he's got the frame, he's got the potential, the skating, and all the things that can make him a great NHL defenseman one day. So it'll be interesting to see how he develops. But yeah, he's just the nicest kid. I mean, he's so kind. He's so he's got great manners, and he's just been so grateful and happy to be in Utah. which just continues to be refreshing, right? To hear these guys, to see a 4th overall selection in Caleb Denoier just stoked to be a Mammoth. And then, as well with Max, he's just so happy to be here. And it's been fun to watch him, share that excitement.
Well, even for him to have said to us that he's been wanting to be a Mammoth for months, it's just like so sweet to hear that anybody is interested in me and my team.
Yeah,
Just
for sure.
so wild. That's so cool.
Yeah, I think that it's this difference that we keep coming back on, because Utah, for the longest time, when it comes to Big Four sports, has only had the Jazz. And so when you have, kind of maybe a history, I don't think recently with this draft pick, I think that a lot of the noise around the Utah Jazz's draft pick on this last year was fabricated. I think he is kind of excited to be here, but
Same.
I think for the most part, hockey players are just excited to have their shot to just be in the league, and usually aren't trying to control who's drafting them, but are just excited to be drafted. And honored to be able to be in the league, kind of no matter who they're going to, because it's an opportunity. So I think it's refreshing.
That's what he just said. Rewarded, hard work paying off.
Yeah.
To even be in the league.
And I think what's like, maybe a positive that you don't really consider with Utah is like, I think it's very similar to where a lot of these guys are coming from in Europe and in Canada. Like they're used to mountains, they're used to snow, they're used to cold, they're used to, what kind of Utah is in a lot of ways. But I think, for a lot of these guys, it might even be a step up, not to knock where they're coming from or anything like that. But, Utah is, as Max kept saying, Utah's a beautiful place. And, what a great place to start your NHL career as part of an organization that is so new and so fresh and everybody's talking about it.
And Caleb Denoier found out that he would be in the Utah Olympic Oval for some practices and said, "Oh yeah, that's where I grew up, kind of playing in a similar facility and when I was younger." So it was kind of cool. Go ahead. Sorry. What else? What other observations have you had of Dev Camp?
Yeah, I think the 3 biggest things from Dev Camp have been, first of all, TJ Ginla looks great. You would never know that he had, dual hip surgery this past winter. He's skating incredibly strong. His turns are really tight and smooth. He's handling the puck well. He's shooting it lights out. I might even say that he's the best skater here, which I don't think is something you would expect from anybody that just had, dual hip surgery 6 months ago. So, it's exciting. We talked to Bill Armstrong about it, and he said, you always worry, when one of your players, especially one of your young, first round draft picks goes through something like that. But to see him out here, he looks great. He looks normal. And he said, he talked to him before he spoke with us. He said, TJ's just giddy. He's so happy to be here and to be, this is the hardest skate that he's had since he had surgery. This is the most intense competition that he's been a part of. So he looks phenomenal. Second, I would say that Dmitry Simashev just looks head and shoulders above everybody else. He is so NHL ready. Yeah, literally. Figuratively and literally. His skating is elite. The way that he moves, how quickly he moves, how smooth he moves, his transitions from offense to defense, how well he closes gaps. He's a talented player. He can shoot the puck too. He's having to rediscover his offensive game because in the KHL, his coaches said, we don't want you really doing anything offensively, which is so weird to me that the game is that different. But it is. And, he's been exploring that. And then Caleb Denoier, he looks good. I think he's as advertised. His offensive abilities are incredible. He made a play today where it was a 2-on-1 against the goaltender. His teammate shoots the puck. Caleb crashes the net. It kind of awkwardly comes off the pads and it falls beneath him. So he lifts his left leg and kicks it on one foot on his right back to the net front to give his teammate another chance. Now the goalie stopped it, but ridiculous play. The IQ that takes, the awareness that takes, and the talent that takes are just awesome. For him though, I think I don't expect him to really be pushing for the roster. I think the biggest thing is just his weight. He needs to probably add 20, 25, 30 pounds. He's tall, but he needs to thicken up a little bit. And then one more thing to add, Michael Rabel has looked unreal. He's a 6'6" goaltender who is coming off a phenomenal year with UMass, and then he also won bronze at the World Championships with Czechia. He is athletic. He's smooth. He covers the crease really well. He reacts really well to rebounds. He tracks the puck strong. Like this dev camp has been fun because there's so much talent. Not just like one or two guys. It's like there's 4, 5, 6 dudes that could be really important players for the Mammoth over the next few years.
I'm only a little bit fuming jealous. I poorly planned my trip because that would be super cool.
Yeah, that one's on you.
This is our first actual podcast because we did a Twitter space after the draft, just kind of talk a little bit about that. But I feel like we've just interviewed Max. I feel like we should talk a little bit about what Caleb Denoier brings to the team, because for podcast listeners, they probably haven't heard it from us. But I mean, how are you guys feeling about this 4th overall pick?
I mean,
pretty excited about
Michael, take a bow, right? You had him at the top of your prospect list.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody.
You could tell that, Bill was listening to you when you made your picks for sure.
That's probably he was like, man, I'm thinking about going Martone, but Cole said Martone, and then Michael said Denoier. That's what I'm going to go with.
And Brady Martin went 5th. That was pretty cool to see.
Brady Martin went before Porter Martone.
Yeah, that was wild. But no, Caleb's great. Caleb's great. With like you're seeing why they kept the pick, right? Like there were offers on the table. Bill was landing phone calls, and there was interest. Obviously, I think the New York Islanders were probably pursuing that pick because they wanted to draft Schaefer and Higgins. But there was no deal that came, that surfaced, because Denoier is a great player. It was interesting to talk to Bill about it, because he said we were very fortunate because Denoier not only filled a need of the team, but he was also the best player available on the board when we got to number 4. He's a bigger center. He's very offensively impactful. His talent is obvious. His handles are obvious. His goal scoring, his IQ, his ability to not only score himself but create for others is obvious. But he's also got a really good 200-foot game. I think he'll need to continue to improve defensively, but the effort's there, right? He's not some guy that's just going to jump on the ice and only contribute offensively. He's going to contribute on every inch. So great pick for Utah. I'm glad they kept it. And, they add yet another talented prospect to their deep pool.
Yeah, his family was across the aisle from me at the draft. And for those who weren't following along, I was here. I'm still here in Los Angeles. And the general sentiment from those, that because I didn't go as an official member of the media, just went. And I happened to be placed around a couple other media members, and actually a good amount of media members and some other like hockey content creators. It was kind of cool. The general sentiment from all of them was that kid is a pretty good shot. That kid ends up being the best player in the draft. Like we always see this looking back on drafts in the past of if we redraft for the 2014 or 2013 or whatever draft it ended up being, it's pretty possible that you look back in 5 or 6 years and the redraft boards look like Denoier going 1. Not that nothing against Matthew Schaefer, because he's a fantastic player. I'm not saying, I mean, clearly I think he's going to end up in the league pretty quickly and have a really great career. But the speed, skill, shooting ability of a player that big is, I feel like there's just a lot to be excited about as a Utah fan and taking it. And like you were saying, there were so many, we were hearing, are they going to trade back and take somebody like Porter Martone or Jacob Ryan? Are they going to trade up and try and move into a different spot? But I ended up being pretty happy that they took it. And it was funny because when Denoier was on the red carpet, he was walking around. I ended up taking some pictures of him, and he was talking to the guy who made his suit, who was standing right next to me. And I was like, "Hey, Caleb, I'm excited for you to play in Utah." Yeah, he was like, oh, thank you, like kind of probably what every player would do in that situation. But yeah,
he's
I'm
confident,
excited.
man. He is
He
a
is.
confident kid, and it's not.
Yeah,
It doesn't come off as cocky. It comes off
yeah,
as like he knows who he is. He knows his talent, and it comes
yeah,
off as I know what I'm going to achieve. Like
Mhm.
he's a winner. He won 3 gold medals in the span of 9 months with Team Canada. He was the QMJHL playoff MVP. Like he wants to win in Utah.
And then,
And
as I said on the Twitter Spaces too, his billet family was saying he's competitive even when he's fishing, even when
yeah,
he's
I
playing
love that.
games at home, and he's a competitive kid because of all this winning too.
Yep, I love that. So it's a good pick. I'm excited for him, and we'll just continue to push on. Right, we'll have the development game on Thursday. It'll be fun to kind of see these because they've just been split. We've had defense and offense, and they've been doing some drills. And the offense was really fun today. We saw Denoier and Aginla running some plays, and Baudouin and Boot, and it was they were having a good time. They were cheering when they're scoring, and they're making all these oohs and ahs, and the crowd got into it. So it was fun. I'm excited to see how that all kind of comes together on Thursday. But it's been a crazy week, right? And we've got some free agency to talk about.
Happy Free Agent Day to those who celebrate. Us,
yeah.
we
The entire
dropped-
NHL pretty much didn't celebrate today because of what
It was
happened yesterday.
just Utah.
Yeah.
We were speculating Friday. When did we have an emergency podcast? Friday. That we were wondering like what big money players we were going to sign. We heard Sunday that Matthias Michelli was headed to the Leafs, which gave us a little bit more cap space. So we were kind of trying to assess how Utah was going to use this cap space. We knew in free agency we wanted to potentially get a goalie, to potentially sign McBain and Logan Cooley. So far, McBain and Cooley haven't locked down any deals. I'm sure they will by the time we speak, because it seems to always happen when we release an episode.
Yeah,
But
don't worry. We'll release the episode and it'll happen.
Yeah. But we've signed 5 people today. Is it 5? Kind of absurd.
Yeah, I mean, kind of just to preface what they did, I like to refer to the draft and free agency as lying season. There's always rumors, there's always big reports, and it felt like Utah was attached to every big name. Utah was attached to Marner and Bennett and Ellers and Besser and Marchand and all these things. But the front office, they just kept saying like, we're not, we're still rebuilding, and not that they're deep in the rebuild, they're trying to emerge from that, but they stayed true to what they said they were going to do, which was, look, we took our big swing with Peterka. Now we're going to add depth. Now we're going to add, more veteran experiences. And that's what today was all about, because this team is not rushed for time. They've got time on their side. They've got, more years to develop, right? Because Cooley and Gunther and Peterka, they're all under 23 years old. And even some of their veterans, Keller and Sergachev, 26, 27. And as we've been talking about, they've got this deep pipeline of 18-year-olds and, 19-year-olds, 20-year-olds. They're not trying to win a Stanley Cup next year or the year after, or probably the next 2 years after that. I think their championship window probably will not open for another 4, 5, 6 years. Like Bill said, you're not winning Stanley Cups with your core guys until they're 20, 27, 28, 29. Look at what Florida is doing. So, today just was a testament to the process of sticking to the process. They needed to add some more defensemen because of the situation they found themselves in, this last year. So what do? They go out and they take, a Panthers defenseman. And I really like the Brandon Tanev addition. He adds grit. He adds a little bit of craziness. He adds, the guy's just got an incredible motor, and he takes it, phenomenal profile pictures for every NHL season. Be fun to see what he does.
Headshots are elite.
Yeah, his headshots are amazing. And then they go out and they sign some goaltender depth. That's exactly what they needed, because I think what they're looking at right now is obviously with the Connor Ingram situation, they don't know how that's going to unfold. And so they sign a 1-year deal, which I think is a positive because it gives some leeway to Ingram to maybe come back and maybe figure things out. But what it also does is give you a solid backup goaltender that is going to support Vejmelka. And it also doesn't sure up anything for in the long term, because I'm telling you right now, there's a belief that Michael Rabel is the goaltender of the future. And so you're setting this all up, right? You're continuing to trust that process. And everything they did today was to continue to develop these young guys and help build a championship organization.
Yeah, I personally really, really love. Well, I mean, there were 3 actual or one-way signings, and then there were a couple other two-way signings that I really liked. But the Kyler Yamamoto signing, I really love that for forward depth. He ended the season pretty strong, and I think there's a general sentiment among fans of like, why didn't he play more? And there's probably a lot of reasons behind that I don't know, but I thought that was a good depth forward signing. I agree with you. Like we found ourselves for a good chunk of the season without a lot of depth at on defense. So signing a guy like Nate Schmidt, who, as you guys heard a couple of weeks ago when we talked to Liam O'Brien, he is the one who gave Liam O'Brien the Tuna nickname. So kind of cool for that to come full circle. And him and Liam are friends. So that's an awesome addition. Brendan Tanev is a forward who's kind of nuts. It's a Brad Marchand similar. You're getting a guy who's a little bit of a rat on the ice, and for much cheaper, and I think is a pretty team friendly deal. For a guy like that, he's going to come in and get you some goals and get you some production in terms of points, but mostly he's going to come in and grind out tough minutes. He's got a pretty aggressive forecheck, and he plays good defense. So I think all those things that we're kind of looking for, maybe on a third line, maybe filling a hole that Josh Stone left. And then, what a lot of newer fans might not know is that it's not uncommon for teams to carry 3 goalies because of what we saw happen last year, where, I mean, goalies get injured. You're a little acrobat in the crease. Like you are doing some crazy stuff with your body to try and stop pucks from getting in the net. Injuries are common. Needing to miss a little bit of time is common, and then even nowadays, players going to the NHL player assistance program tends to be more common. I love that. Players getting help for their mental health and for whatever they're going through, I think is really great. But getting a guy like Vanecek, who has a lot of experience in the league, just won a Stanley Cup, didn't play a lot in the playoffs, but still a guy that you're going to bring in with experience that gives Vejmelka an opportunity to take some games off every once in a while. So I thought all good things so far. And like we were talking about, I think most fans were kind of disappointed that all those big names got off the board quickly. Not even quickly, actually, before the game even started. Before free agency even opened up, most players had re-signed, and most of the major names had re-signed. Pretty much everyone off the top of the board was gone. But I think it's fine. I'm not bummed out about missing out on any of these players, because like Cole said, I think Bill Armstrong is pretty good at trusting the process. So
yeah, in GMBA we trust, and now we're starting to see a full-fledged team come together, and we're going to be able to see more depth as the season goes on. But as Cole said, you can see that these prospects are just going to get bigger, literally physically bigger and better. And to have them kind of in our back pocket as we continue to build our own players forward is great. I disagree with Cole that I think the cup's coming this year, but it's just a me thing, I guess.
Yeah, it's if there are any fans out there that are disappointed or thinking that Utah was saying all these things about free agents are gonna love to come here and we didn't get anybody big. Well, Utah just signed like 5 guys And so, free agency is not an issue. It's more of timeline, Marner and Bennett and, Martian and Besser, like those guys don't fit Utah's timeline. And so
if you're older than Clayton Keller and Mikhail Sergachev, you probably don't fit the timeline.
No, you don't.
Especially if you're in your prime and you're a player of that caliber.
Right. Like, what these deals are going to allow them to do is, like I said, it's going to allow them to develop. It's going to allow Cooley and Gunther and Peterka and Stimashev and Boot and Iginla and Denoier and Baudouin. They're buying time. They're allowing development. So hopefully this organization can be the next Tampa Bay Lightning, right? The next, what have you, the Penguins, whatever teams, you think of when you consider, championship organizations that have long runs, that have time, the Detroit Red Wings of, the past, right? Like teams that put it together.
Definitely of the past.
Yeah. Teams that put it together, not just for a year or two, but teams that can compete for 6, 7, 8 years. That's what they're trying to build here. And so, some sort of miscalculated, free agent signing just to sign them because you have the money doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And they're being smart about that. And so, have a little patience, right? Understand what's being built here. The future is very, very promising. And you can see that vision unfolding.
And getting to talk to Max, just solidifying all of that. I mean, the potential that these players can be here for a long time and that they're having a good time and want to be here, right? Mm-hmm. These are all things that feel really special to us as a team for sure. And then just seeing the kind of height, the kind of depth that they're all going to make on this team, it's exciting stuff.
Yeah. Cole, I know you're there watching the development camp play out. Mm-hmm. If you were to maybe guess which players we're going to see where, I think a lot of fans want to know which of the new players can we expect to be coming up? Which of the young players can we expect to be coming up this year? Who do you expect to see in a Mammoth jersey this year instead of playing in juniors or in college or, wherever these players end up?
Yeah, we'll see Boot and Simashev this year. It gets interesting, right? Like I think Simashev is like definitely NHL ready. But now there's 10 defensemen, right? That's a deep room. Yeah. That makes it tough. He's going to have to beat out some people. And I still expect him to see some time and see some minutes. And Bill Armstrong even made the point of, look, last year we got in trouble, because we had all these injuries to our defense and said that we had to make trades and we had to pull guys off of, waivers to even have a defense. So, I do expect Simashev to see minutes. I think we'll see Boot as well. I think Simashev will have an easier transition. I think his talent's just a little bit higher. And I think, the way that he skates and moves the puck and handles the puck is more ready than Boot. But, I can't wait. I can't wait to see Boot deliver just a nasty hit, this fall. He has such a big body. He stands 6'7" before he straps his skates on. So very exciting. In terms of everybody else, I think we're going to see Iginla and Baudouin go back to the juniors another year. I think those guys are probably going to be, banging on the door of being NHL ready next season. Rabel is already committed to go back to UMass, and he's very big on continuing his development there. He believes that's the best place for him. But what I've heard is that he'll be signing his contract with Utah next season. So we'll see what that looks like. Usually, even once goaltenders sign their contracts, it's a much longer process, right? It's like 4, 5, 6 year process. I think there's a good chance we see him in Tucson for a while, just, develop and continue to play at a higher level. As for Denoier, he's confident. He wants to make the team. I don't think that's going to happen. As Bill Armstrong noted, he needs to become hockey strong at the NHL level. I think he only weighs like 180 pounds soaking wet. So, give me another 20, 25 pounds on him, a couple more years of development. He said he's potentially open to the NCAA as an option. So we'll see how that develops. Does he go back to juniors? Does he go back to the Q? Or, does he elect to play college hockey? I think there's been some interest from Boston College in bringing him in. So we'll see. But I would say that's kind of where all these prospects are at in terms of where they'll be playing this fall.
That is so cool. Before you go, I have to tell you that I'm at a house on a golf course in Nebraska on my trip, and Jake Gunsel teed off in front of my
Oh,
husband
no way.
and his family today.
That's awesome.
I know. I was like, I gotta tell my hockey friends.
Does he have a good swing?
I'll have to ask. You would think anybody who plays hockey for that long in a season probably swings like Happy Gilmore, but I'll have to ask Ian what he thought about it.
That's where are you right now?
Omaha.
Why is Jake Gensel in Omaha?
He went to college here. He's from here.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, pretty
Interesting.
funny. Yeah.
Well, that's awesome, Cole. We will let you get back to development camp, and there'll be more information coming out of there. For those listening, thank you for being here. Thank you for listening to the Utah Hockey Podcast. As always, you can find us on the KSL Sports YouTube, on video, and on audio, so you can see us and listen to us. Which, do you want that? Probably, yes, you do. Maybe not for Cole, maybe for the rest of us. You can also find us on Apple and Spotify, and so much more coming. So we're really glad that Cole just doesn't get an off season. He doesn't get to spend time with his family.
I actually don't mind it either. Well,
Time for work.
I like being busy. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
Busy watching NHL is fine. I think we all love that.
Yep.
Awesome. Thank you
All right,
guys so
guys.
much for tuning in. Good to chat with you, besties.
See you
Love
guys.
ya.
See ya.
Bye.